Hello and welcome to Abid Shiksha. This is our crash course of general science and this is class 3. And our today's topic of discussion is periodic classification. So, aji amar class ki discuss korim okman hetu sailo. We have our class overview. Number 1, why classification is important. Number 2, attempts made for classification. Under this topic, ami pohibolo goi asu about Antoine Lavoisier, Dobereiner's Triad, Newland's periodic table, Mandaleeve's periodic table, modern periodic table. Then we have classification of elements, important elements, and then lastly periodic trends. So let us start with why is classification of elements important. So at the present time, amar usort 118 elements ase plus counting. 118 elements discover hoy goise aru bahut enekwa elements ase junbur discover hobole baki ase. So we have a total of 118 elements and counting. Now 118 elements, so we need to properly study them. Ami bhalkoi study koribo lagibo, bhalkoi understand koribo lagibo. Why? Because ami bhalkoi study korilehe we will get to know about about their properties and their uses. Aru ami properties gom palehe we can use and utilize all the 118 elements to its full extent. This is why study of elements are important. And ami kenako study koribo paru? We can study them using classification. Ami 118 elements bhalkoi classify koribo paru, group koribo paru, and then ami groupings bu pohile ami total 118 elements or properties pohibole parim. So what does classification helps us? Classification helps us, number 1 hoise in the systematic study of elements, so that ami elements or eta systematic study conduct koribo paru. Number 2, for understanding the relation between different elements and their properties, and number 3, to better compare elements and understand periodic trend. So ei tinita point hoise why classification is important and what classification helps us. Now there are many scientists, bahut scientists ahise and elements classify koribo ba elements group koribole try korise. So we need to know about the history behind. Kejon scientists ahile kiman bar teoloke classification try korile, kenekoi no classification korisile. So ami okoman history to sailo how classification was done. In the year 1789, Antoine Lavoisier, scientist ejoner naam hoy Antoine Lavoisier, what he did is that 1789 not he published a list of 33 elements. Teo 33 elements or list ekhon publish korisile, and in that list he classified them. A 33 elements of teo classify korisile under 4 categories. Categories gita hoise gas, metals, non-metals, and earthy metals. So he was the first person who tried grouping of elements, nohole who tried sorting of elements, and this was the first classification ever done. And then next amara ahise in the year 1817 another scientist named Johann Wolfgang Dobereiner, he also tried classification of elements. Teo classify koribole try korisile. What he did is that he made groups of 3 elements. 3 elements of group banaisile and eta group of triad buli koisile. And he proposed the Dobereiner's law of triads. Dobereiner's law of triads ki hoy? According to this law, elements were arranged in increasing masses. Increasing atomic mass or arrange kora hoisile elements, and mass of the middle element. Middle element or mass, that mass will be nearly equal to the arithmetic mean of the other 2. Second element or mass, it will be nearly equal to the arithmetic mean of the first and third. So ehinte tinita triad ase. Dobereiner tinita triad classify korisile, so the 3 triads ehinte words aru tabular form duita te likhi thua hoise dhuniya koi. Triads number 1 ase lithium, sodium, potassium. Number 2 calcium, strontium, barium, and number 3 chlorine, bromine, and iodine. Ehinte table khonato ami dekha pai asu group A, group B, group C boli mention kora hoise the 3 triads along with their atomic masses. So what is the limitation? Limitation ki hoy? Kyo ami Dobereiner's triad ba Dobereiner's classification ami kyo accept no korilu? So the major limitation is that 1789 Lavoisier already 33 elements or list ekhon provide korisile. So in the year 1789 tetiai 33 elements ase boli ami gom pai golu, but 1817 jeta Dobereiner nijor triads nijor elements of jeta triads classify korisile jeta group korisile, then he could only make 3 triads. Okol tinita triads he banabo parile, okol tinita group he banabo parile. So eta triad tinita elements ake, so 3 into 3 a total of 9 elements. He could classify only 9 elements. So baki khini elements ok teo classify koribo nuarile. He was unsuccessful in classifying all the elements juntu tetiar homoyot present asile. So this was a major limitation aru kyo ami Dobereiner's triad ba Dobereiner's classification ami follow kora nai ba accept kora nai. Next we have in the year 1866 another scientist named John Newland teo element classification try korile. He arranged in the order of increasing atomic masses. Elements are arranged korisile in the order of increasing atomic masses, and he also proposed the Newland's law of octaves. Aru Newland's law of octaves ki hoy? According to this law, when elements are arranged, jetia order of increasing atomic mass of elements arranged kora hoy, then the property of every 8th element repeat hoy. So every 8th element or property repeat hoy. So ekhinte ami table ekhono provide kori thua hoise about how Newland tried to classify the elements. Okoman ami limitations sailo je why we do not follow Newland's table. So number 1 we have it was valid only till calcium. Newland's law of octaves okol calcium or loge have valid asile. Calcium or pisor elements black and Newland's law of octaves follow kora nasile. Number 2 we have newly discovered elements. Newly discovered mane 1866 ot teo jeta table khon banaisile, table khon bonwar pisor junbur notun element discover hoisile. He notun the newly discovered elements, he notun elements bilakok ei table khonot jega dibo pora hua nasile. He was unsuccessful in providing a place for the newly discovered elements. Number 3 hoise sometimes 2 elements. Ami ekhinte dekha pai aso kisman jega duta elements bhorai thua hoise. So sometimes 2 elements were placed in the same slot. And then number 4, unlike elements were under same column. Kisman enekwa elements so same column mod bhorai thua hoise which jar properties bahut different hoy. For example, jodi ami first column to ke sao hydrogen, fluorine, chlorine aru last pina ase amar bromine. Ei sariota hoise gaseous elements, but cobalt and nickel hoise amar solid elements. So properties match hua nai, but tothapiu same column ot place kora hoise. So because of these 4 major limitations, Newland's table aru Newland's classification reject kora hol. After that came Mandaleeve. 1869 ot another scientist named Mandaleeve, he tried his hand in classification. Element classify koribole teo try korile. So at that time 63 elements were present. Ekhinte eta kotha koi thau jeta Newland classification try korisile, there were 56 elements. 56 elements in the year 1866 tetia loke 56 elements discover hoi gosile, but Newland could only classify 35. So baki khini element teo classify koribo nuarile. Now coming back to Mandaleeve, in the year 1869 63 elements were present and Mandaleeve tried classification. Now kenako classify korila? He classified elements in the order of increasing atomic mass. Same formula use korile, same increasing atomic mass or order arrange kori dile, but okoman slight difference asile. Difference to it way je he reacted the elements with hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen and oxygen or logot elements lakok react korisile, and react kori pele he made hydrides and oxides. And depending on the properties of hydrides and oxides, kenekwa hydrides aru kenekwa oxides form hoise, depending on that he arranged the elements. So our second point to pai aso, elements were arranged based on their hydrides and oxides. And this was the first time that groups and periods were introduced. First time or babe he introduced groups and periods in his periodic table. So this was about Mandaleeve. Mandaleeve for classification under we need to know the advantages and disadvantages. There are both problems solve koribole successful হৈছিলে but still Mandaleeve's periodic table আমি accept নকৰো কিয় নকৰো আমি হেতু জানিব লাগিব advantages হৈছে number 1 Mandaleeve could successfully predict future elements at that time যোনবোৰ elements discover হোৱা নাই so তেনেকুৱা future prediction কৰিবলৈ successful হৈছিলে এনেকুৱা elements যোনবোৰ at that time discover হোৱা নাছিলে but future লে discover হৈ গ'ল so তেনেকুৱা future predictions future elements predict কৰিবলৈ successful হৈছিলে for example gallium scandium and germanium কেতিয়াবা এই elements ৰ নাম খুদি দিব পাৰে যে Mandaleeve কোন কেইটা elements ৰ prediction কৰিছিলে so answer to hobo teta gallium scandium and germanium and number 2 is that he could also predict the properties of the future elements are existence to predict korisile he was successful in doing that logote ei elements bilakor properties keneko hobo chemical properties keneko hobo hydrides keneko hobo oxides keneko hobo hekhiniu predict koribole successful hoisil so he could also predict the properties of the future elements eti akman disadvantages sailo number 1 we have position of isotopes ki hoy ami already last class last part already bhalko details discuss kori thua hoise so jodi isotope ki hoy jodi idea nai ba isotope ki hoy jodi okman pahorise amar previous video to okman sabo pare so number 1 ot koise position of isotopes could not be explained isotopes or position kod kenekoy bohibo kyo bohibo ei bostu to explain koribo noarile number 2 wrong order of atomic masses in some cases elements or atomic mass or order to bhul koi place korisile so kyo bhul koi place korile so hetu answer dibo noarile number 3 position of hydrogen could not be explained hydrogen to juntu position juntu jega allot korisile hetu jagat hydrogen kyo ase and beleg jagat kyo thakibo nware he question to answer to teu dibo nwarile this is why Mandaleeve's periodic table ami amar present time ot accept nokoro ami present time ot follow nokoro next we have in 1913 Henry Moseley so Moseley tried classification in the year 1913 kenako classification try korisila the elements were arranged in the order of increasing atomic number this was the first time jeta atomic mass consider kora nasile but atomic number classify kora hasile so when was the first time atomic number was considered to be a basis of elemental classification kune try korisila Moseley try korisila ketia try korisila in the year 1913 so he arranged elements in the order of increasing atomic number and he proposed the modern periodic law the modern periodic law proposed korisile a law to ki asile according to modern periodic law the physical and chemical properties of the elements are physical or chemical properties they are periodic functions of their atomic numbers are periodic function hoy meaning after a certain period their properties chemical aru physical duitar property ki hobo repeat hobo so periodic eta period or pisot their properties will be repeated so this is about the periodic functions of their atomic numbers and then ki likha ase the modern periodic table presently ami junhon modern periodic table ami follow karo the present periodic table nohole the modern periodic table this table is the adjusted and the improved version of the Mandaleeve's periodic table last jeta Mandaleeve periodic table khon classify korisile jeta periodic table khon banaisile he periodic table khone Moseley ki korisile adjust korisile okoma improve korile and he gave rise to the modern periodic table and ami currently ekhon periodic table e follow karo in this periodic table there are 18 groups ase 18 groups mane 18 vertical columns ase and 7 periods mane 7 horizontal rows ase 18 groups but 18 vertical columns number kora hoy from left to right left or right or loke numbering kora hoy so the leftmost ekebare left or pine thokatoe hoy jabo amar group number 1 aru the rightmost will be our group number 18 aru periods kenako number kora hoisle from top to bottom topmost period will be our first period and last ekebare tolor bottom period to hoy jabo amar 7th period so the modern periodic table have 18 groups and 7 periods logote we have 4 blocks S P D aru F now these groups periods aru blocks groups periods blocks eitar kotha ami okoman details ot sailo so here you can see the modern periodic table This is our modern periodic table. So আমি এখিনতে দেখা পাই আছো we have 18 groups left or right or লকে numbering কৰা হৈছে left most হৈ যাব আমাৰ group number 1 আৰু right most হৈ যাব group number 18 and then we can see 7 periods আমি দেখা পাই আছো top most হৈ যাব আমাৰ number 1 period number 1 আৰু এবাৰ লাষ্টত আছে আমাৰ 7 period number 7. So this is our modern periodic table. So in this periodic table ekhinte ami dekha pai aso yata blocks divide kora hoise. We can see the S block, that is group number 1 aru 2. Group number 1 aru 2 ei duta group e S block banai. Then major khini group 3 to 12, this becomes our D block, and then group 13 to 17, this becomes our P block, and group number 18 is the noble gases. Then ekhinte tolot ami দেখা পাই আছো F block to কত পৰে group 3 আৰু period 6 আৰু group 3 period 7 আমাৰ আছে F blockত total 14 plus 14 28 elements সোমাই আছে. Next আমাৰ টপিকটো হৈছে classification of elements. Classification of elements আমি অকমান চাই লও. So number 1 we have main group elements মানেনো কি অকমান হেতু চাও. Main group elements under it we have group 1 2 and then group 13 to 17 mane group 1 2 aru efale 13 14 15 16 17 ei kita group hoise amar main group element and the outermost shell of these elements a group kita jiman elements ase the outermost shell they have less than 8 electrons ei gutebur elements or outermost shell 8 electrons or koi kom electrons ase. Next we have noble gases. Group number 18 jiman elements ami pam they all fall under noble gases. Hey group number 18 to noble gases group boli koa hoy. So it includes group 18 and the valency is 0. Ei gases bur ki hoy? First of all the elements in group 18 are gases. Ei gute keta gases hoy, they are non-reactive, nohole ami inert bolio kobo paro. All these elements, all these gases are non-reactive and their valency is 0. Valency 0 hoy, he karone non-reactive, nohole ami ulta koi kobo paro non-reactive hoy. Why? Because the valency is 0. Next we have the transition elements. Transition elements under earth fall kore group 3 to 12. 3 pora 12 ei gute kita group poribo under transition elements. A transition elements or they have high melting point and high boiling point. Melting point, boiling point duita high hobo. They are good conductors of heat and electricity. They are good conductors. So any element, transition elements or major pora jodi jikono element uthai ani pele amak question kore je melting point কেনেকুৱা হ'ব, boiling point কেনেকুৱা হ'ব, conductivity কেনেকুৱা হ'ব, then আমাৰ answer to হ'ব melting point, boiling point দুইটা high হ'ব and conductivity of heat and electricity high হ'ব. They will be good conductors of heat and electricity. And then they shows magnetic property. Magnetic property দেখুৱায়. So আমি যদি magnetor ওচৰত এনেকুৱা elements বোৰ লৈ যাওঁ, then they will get attracted to the magnet because they show good magnetic property. They can be used as catalysts. আমি এনেকুৱা elements for মানে transition elements for mostly catalyst use কৰো and they have variable valencies possess কৰে. Next we have inner transition elements. Inner transition elements under পৰে lanthanides নহলে lanthanoids বুলি ক'ব পাৰে and actinides নহলে actinoids. এটা lanthanides বা lanthanoids কি হয় from atomic number 58 to 71. Total 14 ta elements ase. So 58 to 71 inekwa elements bilako lanthanides ba lanthanoids buli koa hoy. And then actinides ba actinoids from atomic number 90 to 103. Yato 14 elements ase. These 14 elements are known as actinides nohole actinoids. And they are arranged in the same position. Basically lanthanides and actinides F block or কথা কৈ আছে এখানে F block to আমি যদি periodic table খন অকমান ভাল কৈ চাও here we can see that lanthanides and actinides আমাৰ group 3 and period 6 ত place কৰা হৈছে এই 14 টা elements group 3 period 6 ত একেলগে place কৰা হৈছে and actinides group 3 period 7 ত একেলগে place কৰা হৈছে so why is this so they are arranged in the same position because of very close resemblance এনেকুৱা elements physical and chemical properties of মাজত there is a very close resemblance. বহুত close resemblance আছে due to which একে পজিশনত প্লেস কৰা হৈছে বা একে পজিশনত arrange কৰা হৈছে. Next we have metals, non-metals and metalloids. আমি already previous class oto metal, metalloids আৰু non-metals o kotha okoman discuss kori thoiso including their number. So ami aru okoman sai lo metals amar periodic table ot kot lie kore in the left hand side of the table. Amar currently johon periodic table ami follow koru ei periodic table khonor left hand side we will find metals where group number 1 hoise alkali metal. Group number 1 ot ami jiman metals pam he gute khinike alkali metals boli koy aru group number 2 আমি জিমান এলিমেন্টস পাম হে এলিমেন্টস বিলাক alkali earth metals বুলি কোৱা হয় আৰু আমি নন মেটালস কোন ফালে পাম কারেন্টলি যোনখন পিৰিয়ডিক টেবল আমি ফলো কৰো হে পিৰিয়ডিক টেবল খনৰ ৰাইট হেণ্ড সাইডে আমি পাম নন মেটালস আৰু মেটালয়েডস কি হয় মেটালস আৰু নন মেটাল লক সেপাৰেট কৰা এটা staircase আছে হে staircaseত we will find metalloids যদি periodic table হকমান ভাল কৈছে then we will see that metals or non metals হক separate কৰা এটা staircase আছে এটা zigzag line আছে so he zigzag line তে we will find metalloids. Metalloids বুলি নাম কিয় দিয়া হৈছে because they have properties of both metals and non metals. Exactly তেনেকৈ ক'ব নোৱাৰো the properties metals আৰু non metalsৰ মাজত পৰে so the combination they are the combination of both metals and non metals. They are intermediate conductors of electricity. Both metals or non-metals are majote properties pore that is why intermediate conductors of electricity boli koa hoise and they are also known as semiconductors. Metalloids nohole ketiaba semiconductors boli koi dibo para. Next ama usort ase periods and number of elements. Kuntu periodot keta element present ase ami directly hetu kobo paru without going to the periodic table. So our first period we have only 2 elements. Loge periodic table khano sai jabo pare. So first period we have 2 elements, second period we have 8, third period 8, fourth period 18, fifth 18, sixth 32 and seventh we have 32. So eto monot rakha easy way to hoise 2 8 8 18 18 32 32. This is the order. First period opera 7th period or look at 2 8 8 18 18 32 32. Next our dutaman important kotha ase which is total number of 8 elements amar currently amar present date itia ase 118 jar major pra 88 naturally occurring hoy and 27 artificially synthesized hoy. So ekhini bostu ami already previous class oto discuss koriso along with the number of metal metalloids and non metals. So amar previous video to okoman check kori lobo pare. Now coming to the important elements. Ketiaba exam directly elements of kotha khudi dibo pare. So kisuman important elements from the exam point of view ekhinte moi loi aniso. So hekhini okman sai lo. Number 1 we have most abundant element on earth. Earth the most abundant element is oxygen. Then the most abundant metal on earth is aluminium. And oxygen jihetu non metal hoy so jodi question to ahe which is the most abundant non metal on earth tetiao answer to oxygen e hobo. Next we have most abundant element in the universe. Jodi amar earth or nohoy jodi amar universe or kotha koy then the most abundant element in the universe is hydrogen and the most abundant element in the human body amar human body kotha kole then it is oxygen. The lightest element is hydrogen. Hydrogen atomic number 1. So mass so hydrogen gutegita comparison kom hobo so the lightest element is hydrogen. The best conductor of heat and electricity is silver and copper. Best conductor of heat hetu silver aru copper hobo, best conductor of electricity hetu amar silver and copper hobo. Then comes poor conductor of heat and electricity. Which elements are the poor conductors? Bhalgoi conduct nokore heat and electricity. So the answer will be lead and mercury. Next we have liquid metal. Metals or property hoy the room temperature they will be hard and in the solid form. So almost all metals room temperature hard hoy and solid form ot thake except for mercury jonto room temperature liquid form ot thake. And non metals the liquid non metal is bromine. So এই দুটা ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট হয় বহুত বাৰ কোৱেশ্চন আগতেও সুধিছে এবাৰো সুধিব পাৰে next we have metal with lowest melting point হৈছে gallium and cesium next আমাৰ ওচৰত আছে lustrous non metal হেতু হৈছে iodine non metals usually lustrous নহয় luster meaning shine non metals are usually বহুত dull appearance থাকে বহুত shine নকৰে বহুত dull appearance থাকে shine নকৰে so the only non metal which have a lustrous appearance যোনটো shine কৰে হেতু হৈছে iodine then we have the hardest natural substance to hoise diamond hardest natural substance hoise diamond or melting point to high hoy boiling point to high hoy and it is an allotrope of carbon so jodi notes banai ase je ekeloge ekhinte likhi thobo pare the diamond carbon or allotrope hoy and the melting point and boiling point is also high logote another allotrope of carbon ama usort ase graphite it is a good conductor of electricity and carbon or allotrope next ama ekhinte dia hoise soft metals usually hard hoy solid form ot thake so soft metals kon keta hoy lithium sodium and potassium ei kita hoise soft metals room temperature bahut soft hoy ইমানে সফট হয় যে আমি বাটার নাইফৰ থ্ৰু দি আমি কাট কৰিব পাৰো নাও সোডিয়াম সফট মেটাল হয় এন্ড ইট ইজ ভেৰি ৰিএক্টিভ বহুত পুতুককে ৰিএক্ট কৰিলে বহুত সোনকালে ৰিএক্ট কৰিলে সো দিস ইজ হোৱাই সোডিয়াম আমি ইউজুৱেলি কেৰোচিনত ষ্ট'ৰ কৰো সো কেতিয়াবা কোৱেশ্চন খুদিব পাৰে that which metal is stored in kerosene তেতিয়া আনসাৰটো হ'ব সোডিয়াম নহলে আমাৰ নেক্সট কোৱেশ্চনটো এনেকুৱা কৈ দিব পাৰে যে which metal is stored in water তেতিয়া আমাৰ আনসাৰটো হ'ব phosphorus so stored in kerosene হ'ব sodium stored in water হ'ব phosphorus next we have most malleable metal হ'ব আমাৰ gold most reactive metal হ'ব আমাৰ cesium most reactive non metal হ'ব fluorine and the element having the lowest boiling point হেতু হ'ব আমাৰ helium এহিতে বুজিব লগা একো নাই গুটেখিনি মনতে ৰাখিব লাগিব পাৰো উপায় নাই সো মই অকল পইণ্টস কিটা কৈ গৈছো বাৰু next আমাৰ important metalৰ লিষ্টত পৰে the element which is added in toothpaste নহলে কোৱেশ্চন এনেকৈ খুদিব পাৰে যে টুথপেষ্টত কোনটো এলিমেন্ট পোৱা যায় সো তেতিয়া আনসাৰটো হ'ব fluorine and then used in water purification কোন কেটা এলিমেন্টস water purification ত ইউজ কৰা হয় বা water treatment plant ত ইউজ কৰা হয় তেতিয়া আনসাৰটো হ'ব fluorine and chlorine water purification বা water treatment plant ত ইউজ কৰা হয় next used in semiconductors কোন কেটা metals ইউজ কৰা হয় কোন কেটা elements ইউজ কৰা হয় then the answer will be silicon and germanium mostly silicon and germanium ইউজ কৰা হয় then we have most abundant gas hobo nitrogen then most abundant transition metal hobo iron and the element which is used in pencil amar pencil ot kuntu element use kora hoy that is our graphite so moi jiman pariso ekhinte moi mention kori disu aru bohutu ase so enekwa nohoy je aru nai so majority ekhini pura questions put up kore but other than that apnalke aru sai lobo pare next we need to know about the periodic trends কেতিয়াবা খুদি দিব পাৰে mostly হুধাৰ chances বহুত কম আছে but still আমি এবাৰ ওপৰৰ চাই লওঁ পাৰো periodic trends so periodic property মই এখিনতে পাঁচটা periodic property mention কৰিছো which is atomic radius ionization energy electron affinity electronegativity and metallic character so এই পাঁচটা মই mention কৰিছো there are many more so periodic property আমি এখন চাই লওঁ atomic radius আমি along the period আমি period এটাৰ along যেতিয়া যাওঁ মানে left to right আমি যেতিয়া যাওঁ then the atomic radius decreases মানে atomৰ size টো সৰু হৈ গৈ থাকে and then down a group এটাৰ যেতিয়া ওপৰৰ পৰা তললৈ travel কৰো then the atomic radius increases meaning atom এটাৰ size ডাঙৰ হৈ গৈ থাকে then ionization along a period increase হ'ব and down a group decrease হ'ব electron affinity along a period increase hobo down a group decrease hobo electronegativity along a period increase hobo down a group decrease hobo then comes metallic character along a period decrease hobo down a group increase hobo aru metallic character directly opposite to hobo non metallic character so jodi non metallic character khudi dia then metallic character opposite to likhibo pare which is along a period increase hobo down a group decrease hobo এইখিনিতে ডায়াগ্ৰাম এটাও এড কৰি থোৱা হৈছে about all the 5 periodic properties ইয়াতে আমি wordsত লিখি থোৱা হৈছিল ইন a tabular form আৰু এইখিনিতে ডায়াগ্ৰামৰ থ্ৰুদি গুটেখিনি বুজাই থোৱা হৈছে So this is all for today. আজি ক্লাছত আমি ইমানে ডিসকাস কৰিম নেক্সট ক্লাছত আমি আৰু নতুন টপিক এটা লৈ প্লে আহি আছো আজিৰ বাবে ইমানে Thank you for joining our today's class and I will meet you in the next